a new episode of FDO Speaks. The title for today's episode is What is a Man Today? I say that because I look around at a lot of the young men that come to our organization, our youth sports organization, to learn the game of basketball. And I don't really think that a lot of them are getting enough of what we as men are and do for our families. I think what's happening is a lot of, like I said in my first video, social media enters into it. As I've noticed, as we're training or coaching or getting ready for a game or what have you, there are certain narratives that we have to try and stamp out during a practice. But to get more into why we chose this topic or why I chose this topic is because of some of the things that I was just speaking of. When I was coming up, my dad went to work. He took care of all of us. He protected us. He made sure we had something to eat. Those things have changed today. We, as men, are still required to do those things that our dads did, but we're also required to be emotionally available to our spouses. That didn't exist back in my dad's time. There is something else that has been thrown out that I don't think is a true thing that a man can do if he's truly a man, which is be vulnerable to his lady. If you look at the way the word vulnerable is in the dictionary, that means to be left out in the open, defenseless. That's not what many men are going to want to do within their relationships, within their homes, with when they're out with their kids, families, what have you. That's not gonna that's not gonna be something that they're gonna want to be out in the world. Even in the quiet time with your wife or significant other, that's not something that's going to be really available to a man that is handling his home. Now, in the chat, you guys can say however you feel, but this is how I saw it when I was coming up and how I'm seeing it today. And it's causing a lot of buzzword that's being thrown out a lot, toxicity in a lot of relationship camps and just conversation starters or conversations around surrounding relationships of many different kinds. I'm not really getting into any of the new day type relationships. I stick more to the man woman types of relationships for manhood and for the young boys that come through our organization. I would like to be able to give them what that definition of masculinity is for them to understand how they need to be moving forward in the world as we pair them. Yeah, it's one of those things that I have struggled with. Here it is, like late at night, and this has been burning on my heart, so I have to get it off. In today's world, I want to pose this question. In today's world, what does it mean to be a man in today's world? I know what it means for me. A lot of the things that I told you my dad did, and those things, plus having some emotional maturity and being able to communicate with my wife, to be able to communicate with my children, to be able to communicate with my family, to be able to communicate with my community, to be able to communicate with my brothers. That those are huge things for men today. I don't have all the answers. That's why, these videos are starting to pop up from FDO Speaks as it speaks right now. Because I want to pose these questions to us in our local community of where we're going and how we can function as a community for our young men in the East Charlotte, Harrisburg, Concord, Charlotte area, Huntersville, to be strong components in these young men's lives. There are a lot of young men that don't have fathers in their homes, that when you're in the gym and you're coaching, not that you have to go over and above, but be available to speak life into that young man. Give him strength, just knowing that you're supporting him. Make sure that whatever he may have done wrong, even though you're having to correct him, you're giving him a smidgen of love that lets him know that you support him as well. Okay, here we go. For, I guess, the historical context, I have my notes sitting to where I can see them. From historical context, the traditional expectations of men are what I said about my dad and my uncles and his brothers and all of that. They were providers, protectors, and they were stoic. That means they had a certain look and style about them that, you knew as a young man coming through that these were the guys that you looked up to. The way the world looks at men back then, there was certain jobs that we knew were men jobs. There were trash men, there were electricians, there were construction men, there were a lot of policemen, there were firemen. Those types of jobs were in the industrial piece of what a man was. And in my upbringing today, there are a number of different things where young men can see themselves, young black men, young brown men, Latino, Haitian, Jamaican, what have you, can see themselves in many different arenas now. They can be doctors, they can be lawyers, they can be, such as myself, a software programmer, a data engineer, all of these now new jobs that allow men to provide for their families, but also the flexibility to see some of the formation of their children. They can be at ball games, they can be at school functions, they can come and walk the halls and be a part of the school. I know at my son's last school, we had a group called Men of Bradford where we did things around the school that so that the school could see that there was guys around to supporting the school and making sure that everything went well throughout the day or on campus or wherever we were needed. There is also some things that a lot of men may miss because peace is one of the big things that a lot of us, even though we're doing all of the men things for our homes, we don't get a lot of peace. And if that's can be truthful, if we as the guy getting into the relationship don't make the right choice, don't have our own best interest at heart when we're choosing a partner. You can choose a young lady or a woman that is restless. She's can't even find her own peace. So how are you going to have peace? So going through as we're helping these young men and we're watching them navigate in a tournament, say, and there are some young ladies there or what have you. It is on us, the dads and the coaches and the uncles or grandfathers that brought the young men to the tournament to impress upon them that the way we carry ourselves is the way that they're supposed to carry themselves. I'm going to pause right there on that. Our next piece of conversation will be, let's see, modern perspectives. One of them being emotional intelligence and vulnerability. I touched on both of those earlier when I was opening this video. Emotional intelligence, I can understand because you want to be able to communicate thoroughly with your partner or community and even the young men that you're hoping to uplift into their own lives. Vulnerability is not something, again, I feel is necessary for men to expose to the world. Because again, that means that he is unprotected. He is left out in the open. He has no care, or nobody is has taken care of him, so he is now vulnerable. He is not put together in a way that says that he can be that man that is necessary. Because remember, the way that a lot of us now dads that have kids in high schools that are seniors and that have gone off to college, our men that we looked up to were providers, they were protectors, they were stoic, they were strong, they were all of these different things that made for a young man looking at them that want to be those things. I know when I was coming up and my first daughter was born, that was a great feeling to me because I knew I had always wanted to be a dad. I don't know why, that was a spot that I knew that I would do well at, was being a dad and supporting my young people that my wife and I had brought into this world. I wanted to have that responsibility of helping and nurturing that life into adulthood and making sure that the lives that they brought in was being helped and nurtured as well. That is what being a man was from what I saw. The vulnerability part, I don't think has a place in not the way that it's pronounced today for us to share our deepest, darkest secrets with our partners or our community or any of those places where it can be thrown back in our faces at a later date if someone is not pleased with us for whatever reason, or somebody is talking to the side because a man wants to be spoken about when he's not present in a positive way, the same way a wife wants to be spoken about by her husband in a positive way when she's not around. Those things need to happen. And if a man allows vulnerability, I just don't see him being respected. I don't see that. There's also, in this modern perspective, career versus family balance. In the earlier days, for my dad and my uncles, there was no balance. He went to work, he worked until he got off. If whatever time he had left, he hung out with his guys. He come home, he went to bed, he got up, he did that same thing over again. On the weekend, they did whatever they did as men, and we were there with our mothers, you know, playing with our cousins, our friends, what have you. Was not a lot of balance or family, not at least not in my area where I grew up at. It might be different for you guys, where you're from and how your families came together and what they did. Today in my career, I have an actual career where I don't work the way that my dad did. My dad worked hard. He worked at a dry cleaners after his 8-hour job. He worked another 8 hours at the dry cleaners that was his side hustle to make extra money to support us. But for me, I make enough on one job to be able to take care of a family and make sure that they're good. And then the balance comes in where my wife and I both can go and watch our kids and their sports and even volunteer and help the team by coaching or by doing concessions, or we have that type of time. And so we can balance those things and make a nice work-life balance for our lives. Our parents didn't have that in their time. Let's see, what's the next topic? I went over the impact of social media in the first video and the cultural narratives that stem from too much of that, and what you get when you see young men, for me, being a basketball coach, young men that watch social media and watch the other young men on social media playing basketball. If any parent or any uncle or any guardian that's taking care of a young man or young lady that plays the sport of basketball. And they have one of these children and they are emulating the Instagram or TikTok or any of the short form media, social media platforms that don't allow you to see the whole objective of what was happening on the court, makes for a player that is going to be, how can I make this kind, an uncoachable kid. They're watching things, watching somebody do something in a 16 to 20-second clip that they think they're supposed to be able to do in a workout or a practice with a real basketball team. Doesn't work like that. The work has to be put in to make sure that the entire team is successful. Now, there are individual things that you can do work for yourself when you're out in the gym or out in your driveway or out in your backyard to be able to dribble the ball, to create space, to learn how to rebound properly, to get in the correct defensive stance, to all of those things have to come in. But the social media platform for my sense of it being in a sports organization is setting a lot of the youth up for a hard fall moving forward. The platforms are not setting the children up for success because look at this portal that they have. I had a son, my oldest, that was at home, was being recruited by big schools when he was in the 10th grade. He gets to his senior year, which is 2 years later, and the portal and all of those NIL stuff was in place. Good player, not super huge, fundamentally sound. Could have went to a D1 or D2 school, but once the portal opened up and these older players were available to move around to different schools, that kind of shot the high school kid in the foot. All right. So now, being his male role model and looking into this, we have to make it make sense to him to understand that the work that you put in fundamentally into your game as you were moving through, now that has to be precedence and shown, excuse me, to these coaches as you go and play in these different tournaments around the city for different teams to showcase what you can do. So he made it to a JUCO school. That's where he's at right now. He's playing at a JUCO school, and he's doing pretty good. He's just now getting on the floor, getting his rebounds, getting his sea legs, as I like to call it, but not letting him get ahead of himself and saying because he wasn't playing early, that's not helping him be able to understand what it takes to work. Because now the work comes in. Now you go to practice. Now you're in the coach's face. Now you're showing him every day why you're there. You're showing him that the kid that's playing in front of you, may not be the kid that needs to be in front, but just give me a shot. As long as you're doing that work and you're pouring that into your child, making sure that they understand that the work has to be done, I think the child will be just fine. Toxic masculinity and versus healthy masculinity. Toxic masculinity, for me, I think has gotten I think it's just a buzzword. And a lot of things that I've heard my daughters say, that guy's toxic, or a lot of times just peeling back the layers of listening to that conversation or talking to my daughters and asking them about that. Might sound horrible coming from a dad talking about what his daughter said, but listening to what she said about what happened in their interaction, in their conversation, it sounds to me like because a certain thing didn't happen a certain way for her at a particular time, he was toxic. Toxicity to me is this person has taken, they might be trying to introduce you to drugs. They might try to introduce you into some different type of physical, sexual environments that you're not used to or want to be involved with. They may be argumentative or just pick arguments or just no good things to just cause chaos all the time. That's a toxic person. That can be man or woman. Healthy masculinity is, again, going back to the things that I spoke about for men at the top, where we're providing, we're protecting, we're making sure that the whole house and those around us are good. That's healthy masculinity. For a lot of the different voices that we are having our young men and our young ladies listen to, some of that probably needs to change if there's a lot of negativity surrounding them. In our organization, we try to make sure that we are as positive as possible with them when we're going through a coaching session or when we're going through a training session, even when we're doing a conditioning day. If the kid is very out of shape, they're just coming off of an injury, and there's a lot of running, and they're getting upset because they can't make the times, or they want to quit, or whatever it is. We always try to make sure that we come to them in love first as a coach. Yeah, we're going to be difficult. We're going to be hard. And this work still has to be done if you're going to be a part of this team. But we know that you can do it and we understand that you've been out, you've been hurt, but it's going to take the work. You got to put the work in to be able to be what we need you to be and what you want to be for yourself. That's some of the voices and opinions that we use within the organization. Let me pause it right there. I'm still working on voices and opinions. A lot of some of the stories that I heard when I was coming out, they couldn't be spoken about today. The way my uncles and my older brother and his friends and his aunts, even the way my aunts and my mom talked, those opinions about different people in the neighborhood or different people in the church or different people on their jobs, the way they spoke about them, that a lot of those things couldn't go. Just a different, it was a different time. The language was different. Some of the, I guess, psychology of how we were when we were younger. I mean, just think about it. We were kids that during the summer we would get up in the morning, it's say 8:30, 9 o'clock. You would get on your bicycle, go out and meet your friends, and you weren't back until the street light came. Think about that. Think about that. You were all over your neighborhood, your town, city, whatever. I'm from Shelby, North Carolina. And we were all over Shelby, the areas that we knew of, whether it was Chestnut Playground, Jefferson Playground, Robertsdale, no matter where it was. If you had a bike, you rode it, you got there, you played your games. Then when we got a little older, we rode our bikes a little further out to City Park, to Hollywood Park. And you start driving, you make it to Gastonia, you're playing at Lineberger Park, you're driving all the way to Charlotte, you're coming to Freedom Park. All of those different things we had when we were coming up built our psychology and our toughness within us to be very different from what the kids are that we have. Because I think we dealt with so much when we were out in those neighborhoods and the different things that we saw, the different things that happened to us while we was out there, the bike wrecks, the getting hit by a car, the jumping off of a house and to a mattress, missing the mattress and dislocating your shoulder, breaking a leg, those types of things. Now, today, those same parents that went through all of that, now they are looking to bubble wrap their kid. Yeah. Yeah, they have the cell phone where you can track them. You can call them every 10 minutes. That's what my daughter does to my grandson. My previous wife, she did that to my older two daughters. So it's just different. The psychology of parenting and living right now for men today is totally different, especially and for my generation. You're thinking about how you came up and the way that things were done. Like we're sitting watching our kids play today, and we're wondering why they're not moving faster, or why they didn't see that guy open in the corner, or why they didn't just pull up and shoot the shot right there instead of dribbling for 15 dribbles. All of those different things are from our time. We played with efficiency and purpose. Now they're just wanting to be on the court. That's it. They just want to be on the court. If they were on the court, they were successful. Whether they were good on the court doesn't matter. They just want to be on the court. The sociology of what happens, I don't think is fair to these young people today, especially the young men, because you have leaning more towards the looking at the female side now. The females have an analogy that I was given a while ago, or that I've heard on social media myself, is women are given their riches up front. They're given their beauty, their youth, and their sexual currency in the beginning. Well, a young man, such as myself and a few others that come behind me, we had to work. We had to make ourselves into something before we could go and meet a young lady, to be able to hold a conversation with her, to go and take her to grab a meal, to take her to the movies, to go and do those things. Today, young ladies now are working, and they're saying that the young men who are still trying to prove themselves in life have to have more, at least what they have, or above what they have. And for a lot of young men that start late or don't even have a clue of who they want to be, it makes it hard for them socially to match up to these young ladies today. And just everyday people walking around looking at how the world has been created and the way we're moving in it right now for ourselves and our children coming behind us, and even our parents ahead of that were before us. It really makes me think that we, as this adult group now, we have a lot of work to do. Our parents weren't able to reach out and be in the community because they had to work. When AAU wasn't a thing when I was coming up, there was neighborhood tournaments where the furthest that I think we went to Gastonia and Kings Mountain when we played. And that was about as much AAU as we had. And then later on, we got to where there was a play for the D boys, and you went all over then, but you had to be good enough to do it. Now I don't think it's being impressed upon enough of our young men the pressures that we went through. When you're coming behind, you see your dad, and he's grinding, he's doing his thing, he's making sure that you're eating every day, you got clothes on your back. Might not be the clothes that you want, but you got clothes on your back, you got a roof over your head, you got all of these different things. We were we noticed that. I don't think our sons and daughters really notice that. They're paying more attention to the electronic social media platforms than they are to what their actual parents are doing for them and caring for them. Now, let me go through some challenges that men face today. Right now, some challenges that men face today are mental health. I'm looking at some of the men that are in our communities that their wives are leaving them for and taking half of their money with them when they go. That can cause a huge mental health hole within a gentleman. If you're playing a sport at a collegiate or a semi-pro, a professional level, and you're overseas or in the very glamorous professional league, the pressure that is applied to you is different than that of a regular person that has a everyday job working at McDonald's or an industrial plant, say like PPG in Shelby, or Kemet, that was a microchip manufacturing facility. All of those types of jobs don't exist anymore. So now, without the huge factories of those being moved off of shore and onto overseas shores, that can cause mental health issues for men. for men. Truck driving, being that takes men away from the home again, which causes a mental health hole because they can't be with their family, their wife, or they may have a devious woman or wife that is cheating while he's out on the road or what have you. All of that stuff can cause a mental health challenge or a stigma for us men. Just trying to be a man in the community to help hold or give accountability to some other men in my community to help them become stronger, to help them and support them to bring their son up in a different way than we all came up as another, hopefully, mental health challenge that all of us men can help one another with. Pressure to succeed financially is another one. Just trying to have enough money to take care of your family and just have the drive, I think, mainly for a lot of men is difficult. And it goes back to the mental health stigma that a lot of drugs and drinking and just not knowing God can put pressure onto a man for, I guess, him not feeling like he's living up to who he's supposed to be for his family. And again, the we as other men that know that guy, we need to rally around him and give him support to make sure that, he can become the man that God created him to be and who his family needs him to be. We all need to lean into one another, and women need to lean into each other to build a community so that the youth that coming behind us can be productive people in our communities to kind of stamp out a lot of the stigmas that a lot of broken homes in the black community, or there are only two-parent homes in the white community. No, they in our home there's two parents, and a lot of the guys and my brothers in church and coaching, they have two-parent homes, and we're black families. Another stigma that could possibly be is that the white kids or the Caucasian kids, however you want to say it, are allowed to speak freely with their parents. That's not a thing either because I know Caucasian parents that are not having it, just as we're not having it. So a lot of those trademarks that now I know when we were coming up, there were Caucasian kids that cursed at their parents, but I haven't seen that so much today. Not today. Navigating gender equality uh, and changing relationship dynamics. This could be a big one. This might need to be a show in itself or an episode in itself because with women in general becoming educated a lot earlier than we are. Not saying that they're more educated, but they educate themselves a lot earlier than we do. For us, we are trying to find our way, whether we want to do an apprenticeship or we want to try to work for somebody to learn how they do electrician. That same thing, apprentice, I guess. But we are trying to make money without incurring debt. A lot of the young ladies will incur the debt to gain the knowledge to become educated, and then going into a relationship, that debt follows them, which now the guy who has worked his tail off to be debt free, now has to incur that debt if he wants that woman. So the education system can create so-called gender equality, but there is not financial equality because there are a number of guys that can do well for themselves without having to have go into debt to be educated. They can be educated in the world by watching the community and seeing how the community evolves and creates itself and move through the community and understand what this side over here is doing versus what this side is doing and grow as a man in that perspective, because even though you're becoming book smart and you're learning things out of a book, that doesn't mean that it's always the best thing for us. Cultures are different for men and women. Black women have the same culture as the black man, but she might have been raised differently in her home. White cultures are different than black cultures. Brown cultures, Latino cultures are different than black and white. And then you have the black cultures that could be Haitian or Jamaican that are totally different. And then you have the African communities. And so all of those things make for different melting pots that we all have to deal with and make well for the children coming behind us to so that all of us can navigate and have a better relationship dynamics. Again, I think I could speak a whole episode on that. I really do. For again, for the stepping back into the gender equality, I think. Let me get my notes back right here. Gender equality and relationship dynamics. I don't think that navigating the equality is a power struggle. I think it's a partnership struggle. Anytime you put two people together, there's going to have to be some give and take, and there's going to have to be some understanding. There's going to have to be some maturity that's going to be involved with all of that. And as men, we have to allow that to come to. Sometimes it takes us longer to understand that. And at some points in our lives, we get to a point where we're not gonna just deal with certain dynamics. So having a equal gender in your relationship, it doesn't make sense because men have their things that they have to do for the relationship, whether it be protect or provide. Yes, the my wife helps provide as well. But if we're walking down the street and something unsavory doesn't look right to me, I always walk in front and put her in behind. What would that look like? Her doing that for me? That those are the gender equality things that I don't think make sense because we're built different. God created me to be a man, created her to be a woman. She can bear children. I can't. I can lift a lot more weight than she can. I can run a lot faster than she can. But there are some generalities that we both can do. The stigmas for all of those different things, I think, have run roughshod over uh, relationship communities. They've even created what I call trash TV on it, that a lot of our youth is picking up and trying to make that the norm. And it's up to us as parents to change that. We can't allow those things to be a staple in our youth's lives. We have to make sure that it's clear that this is not how we conduct ourselves out in the real world and how we're going to operate and move. That's not how you learn from home. That's not the way we taught you. That's not the way our community does things. You're going to have to toe the line as we did and your ancestors did. All of this craziness that's happening now, we just have to pick up and toe our line and grab their hands and put their hands on the line as well. So, in conclusion, what is a man today? How do we, how can we redefine manhood? In the chat, once I push this up to YouTube, I would like to get this question out there to the masses to start understanding what your thought process is on how we can redefine manhood for the future. That's the question. Some key insights. Let me get some key insights was cultural conditioning. From a young age, boys are often taught that showing emotion equals weakness. Yeah, that was one that I myself went through. Now today, I am able to shed a tear, but it's not a tear where I'm crying because something happened to me that what something negative that happened to me where it was wrong that happened to me. That's to me is okay to shed a tear for, but to cry because one of my friends that I work with went to lunch with a couple other friends and didn't invite me. That's crazy. Some statistics: men are less likely than women to seek mental health support. Yet suicide rates among men are significantly higher. And again, for us men, we just don't share a lot, and that's another thing that accountability partners and in our men groups would and our friend groups should start helping with that. The workplace pressures, fear of being perceived as less competent if we admit to stress and anxiety. It can be one of those things for men, but I don't think so. Not today. Earlier, again, when we were learning sport or you were learning to do certain things with your dads or whatever, if you admitted that you were tired or if you admitted that you were just a little hyper, you felt a little anxious about something, you were always, are you scared? Those types of false narratives have been littered throughout the manhood culture. It is up to us as the dads now to start changing that to allow our sons some cultural viability for themselves to understand that you're going to make mistakes. And me, your dad, is here. Your uncle, he's there. Your uncles around, your coaches are around. All of those people, all of those guys are here ready to support you and help you through whatever it is that you come against. And how do we break the cycle? We should be discussing the importance of normalizing therapy. Get it if you need it. Peer support. That's the friend groups and home accountability partners, and just doing like I'm doing, but within your own communities, having open conversation. And one to go one even further, getting to know your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and the Father that created us all. Knowing all of that will be able to bring yourself and your life into perspective, because I know as I started having my last three kids, it was Jesus that helped me through a lot of the things that I knew I was going through, that I thought that I needed help with, but all I needed was him. So a lot of guys, if you would put your faith and trust in God, that'll help you a lot. And remember